They called them mob wives, arm candy, shadows behind powerful men. But history got it wrong. Because for every Don who built an empire, there was a woman who built him. And sometimes she was the one who tore it all down. Let's start with the truth the Mafia never wanted you to know. The Cosa Nostra wasn't just a man's world. Behind the smoke-filled rooms and whispered deals were women, mothers, wives, lovers, who shaped the codes, the loyalty, and even the bloodlines. Meet Giovanna Rizzuto, wife of Vito Rizzuto, the so-called Canadian Teflon Don. While Vito handled diplomacy between the Sicilian and North American families, Giovanna managed the books, real estate, offshore accounts, political donations, all hidden in plain sight. When Vito was arrested, investigators found that many assets were registered in her name. It wasn't oversight, it was insurance. She was the quiet CFO of an empire that lasted 3 decades. History recorded Vito's arrest, but it never recorded that Giovanna's financial trail kept the family alive even after his death. Go back to Sicily, before New York, before Chicago, before the word mafia was whispered across oceans. There was Francesca Vitali, a widow in the 1870s, whose husband, a local boss, was murdered by rivals. Instead of disappearing into mourning, Francesca took control. She negotiated with priests, bribed police, and arranged vendettas, all while maintaining the illusion of a grieving widow. She became known as La Madrina, the godmother, a title that terrified men who claimed to protect women. In a world that worshipped silence, she was the whisper that moved armies. Every mafia story begins with loyalty and ends with betrayal. And women understood that better than anyone. Consider Carmela Gallant, wife of Lilo Gallant, the ruthless New York capo who dreamed of running the American mafia. Carmela was his confidant, but also his secret critic. She warned him, "Your ambition will get you killed." He didn't listen. And when the bullets came at a Brooklyn restaurant in 1979, she didn't weep. She took control of the safe houses, liquidated the accounts, and vanished to Florida with her children. The men called her cold. But in the underworld, survival is the only true act of love. Here's something most people don't know. In traditional Sicilian families, women couldn't be made, officially initiated into the mafia, but they enforced the code more fiercely than anyone. They taught sons when to stay silent. They burned letters before police raids. They arranged marriages between rival families to keep peace. They hid fugitives, smuggled messages, and laundered millions, all while pretending to not understand business. Their invisibility was their greatest weapon. To the outside world, they were homemakers. Inside the family, they were architects of loyalty. But what about today? What happens when the mafia evolves, when bullets are replaced by Bitcoin and power is transferred through encrypted messages? Meet Maria Licata, a 35-year-old lawyer in Naples. Her father, once a high-ranking member of the Camorra, died in prison. She swore she'd never follow his path. And yet her law firm today defends shell companies tied to organized crime, legally, discreetly, profitably. Maria doesn't break laws. She rewrites them. She's not the shadow behind the throne. She is the throne, hidden in daylight. Women like Maria are the evolution of the mafia. They don't need guns. They have contracts. They don't hide in kitchens. They sit in boardrooms. Power isn't just control. It's perception. And women mastered it long before men realized it. When a Don walks into a room, fear follows him. When a woman does, people let their guard down. That's how power hides. That's how it survives. They say behind every great man, there's a great woman. But in the mafia, sometimes, she's not behind him at all. Sometimes she's already 3 moves ahead, watching, calculating, deciding who lives and who falls. The American Mafia may have fallen, the Dons imprisoned, the families shattered. But the influence of these women still echoes. Their names rarely appear in books. Their stories end in silence. But if you listen closely, you'll hear their fingerprints in every business that rose from the ashes of the underworld. Fashion houses, real estate empires, political dynasties, all built on quiet ambition. Power changes its face every generation. Once it wore a fedora and carried a gun. Now it wears heels and carries a law degree. They say every Don had a queen who pulled the strings, but maybe, just maybe, the queens were running the game all along. History remembers kings, but it was the queens who wrote the rules.